Hello, everyone. Michael Erwin here, the Leadership Whisperer, and bringing you another 5-minute leadership tip. And today I'm going to talk about some research that's just been done by the Centre for Creative Leadership, a global leadership non-for-profit organisation. The research was focused around the Asia Pacific, Australia and New Zealand and Asia, and looked at what do we need, what's happening around the hybrid work environment, which they called Work 3.0, and specifically how are organizations going with hybrid and what do leaders need to do in order to be at their very best in this hybrid work environment. So here's a slide to give you some idea of some of the key takeaways from this research. So one of the interesting things that came up was that only 26.1% of organizations feel like they're fully prepared for Workplace 3.0, for the hybrid work environments. Okay? And that reflects a lot of the discussions that I'm having with my clients and with leaders who are still working through how do we actually adapt to this and what is going to be the best way for us to work in this hybrid situation. Okay, so if you're feeling like you haven't quite got it all sorted out, then you're in with everyone else. Nearly 3/4 of the organizations and people out there are saying that they're still working through this process and trying to figure out how it's going to work to be the best for them. Okay, now some other interesting things that came up. One of them was that 60.8% of managers and leaders say they are thriving in this hybrid workplace, right? Which was higher than I expected, and it's quite an interesting number. Yet contrast that with this, that only 10.2% of employees say that their leaders fully support a hybrid work environment. All right. So what we're seeing here is actually a common theme that's been coming up over many decades, where we do some research or we get some feedback, like 360 feedback, in how leaders see how they're going, how managers reflect what's happening for them. And then we also ask other people in their organizations, particularly their team members, and we see a difference. This is quite a big difference here. So if we ask just the managers and leaders, they think things are going okay in this hybrid work environment. But when we ask their teams, only 10% of them are saying that things are going well and that leaders are fully supporting and adapting to the hybrid work environment. So an important factor for us as leaders to be effective in this workplace is make sure that we're getting the perspectives from other people and really listening and understanding where they're at and what it means from their point of view for the organisation and the leaders to be fully supporting a hybrid work environment. So let's have a look also at some other things that came out of this. What the Centre for Creative Leadership found was that in a hybrid work environment, to be successful, leadership depends on some key mindsets, some key attributes. So let's have a look at these. So the key attributes of a successful leader in this hybrid work environment, Work 3.0 as they're calling it, being effective with your communication. So that's really open and transparent and lots of consistent communication so people know what's happening. Then building capability of trust. So really knowing how to go about building trust, recognizing that trust is fragile. And this is one of the areas where, in my experience, leaders get caught out. They know in broad terms what trust is, but many leaders, especially those that haven't had training or are new into leadership and management, are not recognizing where they might be breaking some trust, putting little cracks or chips here and there. And in the hybrid work environment, this is magnified significantly. So trust is a key factor. Expectation setting, so making sure that people know exactly what's expected. And this is not a one-way communication, this is a two-way communication, so there's open dialogue about what's expected of people in their role and how they fit into the team, and it's clearly understood. And then learning agility. So that's the ability to learn and adapt and be flexible in our consistently changing environment. Makes sense, all of those, don't they? So here are the key mindsets that leaders need to have in order to be really effective in this Workplace 3.0 hybrid environment. So the first one is a growth mindset. And so that's being open to the fact that things can change. People can change and grow and develop. Teams can grow and change and develop, and it doesn't have to be done in a certain way or in the old way. The other one is about how do we go about building trust. Okay, so you can see that very closely connected to the trust as an attribute. Okay, so we need to have the mindset that trust is a highly important factor in creating leadership and building teams and high-performing teams and a positive culture within the organization. And there needs to be high levels of accountability. Okay? So people need to be held accountable for the work that they are doing, for the expectations you've agreed upon as part of the attributes we spoke about just a little earlier. And then they have to have a mindset of empowering. Okay, so being able to share and grow and give others the opportunity to be empowered and take on their own areas of responsibility. And there's a fine line between accountability and empowerment, and it's something that many of my clients ask about. How do I go about empowering people and showing that I trust them and leaving it up to them to do it their way and allowing them to be responsible, and yet at the same time, how do I hold them accountable? So that is a fine line and some key skills that takes practice and often takes some support and guidance through training, coaching, and mentoring to find out exactly how to have the best way to implement those things. Okay, so these are the key areas, the key attributes, and the key mindsets that leaders need to have if they're going to be highly effective in our hybrid work environment. So have a think about how you're going with those and how you might go about growing and developing in those areas. Now, coaching is available. So if you would like to get leadership coaching with me, here's some key points about it, and the link is at the bottom. Please go to that link, book in a time that suits you, and I'm happy to have a further discussion about any of these points that we've covered today or any areas that you'd like to understand more about in terms of being at your very best as a leader. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you at the next leadership tip.